I know. You're looking at the screen and you're saying, wait a minute, what is this? The Toronto Star? Nick Kypreos? What are you talking about, Lego? Is this a Vancouver Canucks video or an Austin Matthews injury video? And here's the thing, we're busting out the Streamlabs one more time, because along with this Toronto Star piece, there have been so many updates in regards to the Vancouver Canucks, in regards to their trade situation, and everything in between, heading into today's game against the Seattle Kraken. Yeah, that's right, the Canucks are playing today, it's a game day, but we're sitting over here talking about all the trades, because of course we are. There's been so much to go over, starting out with Nick Kypreos. This was posted earlier this morning. It says updated 1 hour ago, but Kypreos did have a bit from earlier, I think at like 5 or 6 a.m. Vancouver time. If you take a look at this article and you scroll all the way down, past all the Austin Matthews stuff and into the Kipper's Corner stuff, you'll read this from Nick Kypreos. It's sounding like the Vancouver Canucks are leaning towards a major roster change as it becomes clear to management that the current roster, specifically feuding stars JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, cannot coexist. Don't be surprised if we start hearing the Canucks are willing to take calls on Miller. So, Miller? Okay, he's the guy. Seems like, at least based off of what Nick Kypreos is saying. If you had tuned into the channel yesterday, you would have seen my opinions about it. I do think that trading Miller would be more appropriate than trading Elias Pettersson, but that's just me. A lot of y'all in the comments agreed. A lot of y'all have disagreed as well. So there are varying opinions here. Let's go out there and talk about some other things, like this. You had Elliotte Friedman on Sportsnet 590 The Fan earlier this morning as well. And hey, this is their show, the Fan Hockey Show, with Matt and Mike, and you had Friedman on as a guest. It's a 2-minute clip, 2 minutes 56 seconds posted onto Twitter earlier this morning. I believe everybody knows Vancouver is open to listening, that they have already, but I think their preference is, for lack of the better term, grow up and figure it out. This seems to be what the Vancouver Canucks want the most out of their players, but it's not really what they're getting based off of all the media circulation and everything that's been talked about. To help us out as well, let's give a big shout out once again to Vancouver Canucks News Summaries, because they went out there and posted a transcription of everything that Friedman spoke about earlier this morning on The Fan. Firstly, Patrick Allvin, he knows what's going to happen with the quotes that he made, specifically referring to the Elias Pettersson needs to mature, etc., comments. The goal for the interview was to light a fire under Elias Pettersson. So Allvin spoke to McIntyre, had these quotes, even went as far to say that Pettersson needs to be better and he needs to get better and that a trade is possible. And it seems like all that was done for the intention of lighting a fire under Elias Pettersson. Okay, that is very interesting. I don't know, is it a Swedish thing for people to go out there and light fires under other people like that? I'm not too sure, but the Canucks thought that all the drama was over after last season because everyone in the roster would see what they could accomplish if they all push in the same direction. Obviously this year, not in the same direction. Everybody has their own thing going on. Brock Besser injured, Thatcher Demko injured, Quinn Hughes injured, Pettersson injured, Hronek injured, Miller leave of absence. A lot of guys are in and out of the lineup, and it's hard to really cohesively form the right direction with this team and in that room if you have so many guys missing time. The Canucks, though, are really surprised by how this season has gone, according to Elliotte Friedman. Yeah, no, me too. Like, is anybody not surprised with how the team is going? It's been a whirlwind this season. In management's eyes, it's not about choosing one or the other, but they can't believe they still have to deal with this Pettersson-Miller situation. The more Friedman thinks about what Tocchet and Hughes said, the more Friedman believes that Tocchet and Hughes also share the same mindset. A bit of exasperation that this is still a thing, quote-unquote. And that is also an interesting way to talk about it as well. The fact that Hughes and Tocchet acknowledged it. Oh, you don't have to play PlayStation with the guy, but these guys are both leaders, these guys can both be great players, they're both good people, etc., etc. The fact that both of those guys spoke out in that way, Friedman believes that they both believe it's still a thing. this entire conflict, this situation, it's still worth thinking about, and it's not something that we can just ignore. Everyone knows that the Vancouver Canucks are opening to listening. They already have listened on both of those players, and they will continue to do so. The Canucks' preference is that both of them grow up and figure it out because trading either would be hard to win. However, the stress of it all has begun to spill over into other parts of the organization. Clearly, this bothers Tocchet and Hughes that this Pettersson-Miller thing is still a thing. So all that and more in a quick 3-minute segment in Sportsnet 590 and the fans' airwaves. Elliotte Friedman went out there and spoke out about the Canucks and this situation. It's not looking good. I don't know, because the team is not winning, everybody is latching on to whatever reasons that could be there, and while this doesn't really affect the team right now because Pettersson's not playing, this still is one of the underlying stories that people can focus on because the team is not winning. If the team was just winning, if they were going on a 5-game win streak, nobody would be talking about this, or at least people wouldn't be talking about this as much. If Pettersson was just scoring and Miller was scoring and Miller looked good, he looked engaged, if Pettersson was still doing his dekes and getting his snipes off, then okay, people wouldn't be talking about this. Who cares if they don't like each other? The team's winning. But the team's not winning. And they have such bad habits on the ice that now we have to point fingers as to what's going wrong with the organization, and this, obviously, is one of the biggest things that's going wrong with the organization. Furthermore, you had Frank Seravalli go out there and talk about this too. Sportsnet 650, Halford and Bruff in the morning. Seravalli went out there and spoke on the radio show about a whole bunch of things. So shout out to Vancouver Canucks News Summaries. This Twitter account is an absolute gift from the heavens. The best thing that's happened to Canucks Twitter the past few months here. Canucks trade rumors via Frank Seravalli. Nothing has changed from 2 weeks into the season. The defense market is not teeming with perfect fits, is the quote here. The Canucks are waiting for the right piece at the right price. Pressure to make changes. This is an interesting aspect that Seravalli touches on. He doesn't get the sense that something has to give. Seravalli says he's done his homework over the last couple of weeks and he has asked all the questions. No one, though, has told him that something happened between Miller and Pettersson this season. They played together since the 2019-20 season and are on long extensions knowing that they would be teammates. It's not news to anyone who has been on the team that Miller and Pettersson don't get along. He also, however, does not understand how they got from A to Z. They don't like each other to one of these guys has got to go. You know what, Frank? Honestly, that's just Vancouver media doing what the Vancouver media does. They ask questions, they get these thoughts going, those opinions leave the station of information, and all of a sudden everybody's talking about it, and a whole bunch of people are going out there and discussing whether or not a trade should be done. They don't like each other. One of these guys has to go, especially with the comments made by Brad Richardson yesterday. It's ridiculous. There's so much fuel for the fire here when it comes to the idea of trading one of a Pettersson or a Miller because the fans just would not stop talking about it now. Let's go over into the other one here. This is what Seravalli said about Patrik Allvin's interview. No warm and fuzzy feelings about Elias Pettersson's play during the playoffs or the way he handled the knee injury. A lot of people in the organization felt that his knee injury was an excuse. Really? Okay. Canucks people within the organization thinking about Pettersson and his knee injury as an excuse for his poor play. Okay. The Canucks were hoping the season would be energy for Elias Pettersson. It would energize him. Pettersson, however, is not handling the pressure well. He feels the accountability and the way that everything is handled is the opposite of JT Miller. Seravalli also spoke about how what Allvin said about Pettersson in the interview probably isn't all that different than what Miller, their teammates, and the coaching staff have been thinking about Pettersson too. He would also love to have a follow-up question to the one asking about Pettersson's trade history, and if Allvin's answer about Rutherford's history is a reference to quickly fixing mistakes. Seravalli says he can't remember a player 1 year into a long-term contract being referenced like that by a front office. Now the funny part is, I think Seravalli, if you've been listening to a lot of his radio hits and podcast stuff, it feels like he is more anti-Pettersson than he is anti-Miller. It feels like he wants the Canucks to trade Pettersson, or if he's trying to take a stab at it, he feels like a Pettersson trade is more likely than a Miller trade. At least that's what I'm getting based off of listening to his commentary. Even here, he's blaming Pettersson more so than a lot of the other people around the hockey world have. And I do kind of wonder how everything is going to go down, especially heading into today's game. If Miller pops off with a hat trick against the Kraken, then okay, we're gonna continue this conversation in a much different way. But if they blow the game again, then you bet your behind we're going to be talking even more about the idea of trading Miller. Kyprios talking about Miller, Seravalli's talking about Pettersson. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about all these Vancouver Canucks trade conversation updates from Friedman to Seravalli to Kyprios. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.